Good afternoon, colleagues.
Afternoon.
As has been said by Mr. Gundan, my name is Bina also. I chair the Board of Governors team for the Roundtable. Thank you for heeding our call for this press briefing on the 7th edition of the Roundtable, penciled for the 18th to the 20th of March 2020 at the Elephant Hills Resort, Victoria Falls, here in Harare. Colleagues, I think, let me start by expressing my excitement and say that it gives me great pleasure to extend to you all a very warm welcome on behalf of the Roundtable, and how grateful we are to all of you who have accepted our invitation to attend this press briefing. As you may be aware, the CEO Africa Roundtable is a high-level platform for chief executive officers and senior executives from private and public sector institutions, created to engender cross-fertilization of critical economic and business knowledge in and around Africa. We are proud to announce that the CEO Africa Roundtable will host the 2020 Roundtable, a leading gathering of CEOs, bankers, and investors, board chairpersons, entrepreneurs, and at the Elephant Hills Resort from the 18th to the 20th of March this year. And this year we are discussing under the theme 4.0, what is it? What is it in for Africa? The CEO Africa Roundtable is coming at a time when technological change is transforming global business like never before. Increasing competition, shifting customer tastes and requirements, globalization of markets, and the changing demographic trends are drastically altering our companies, or how our companies operate in most or almost every region, almost every sector, globally. And industry, therefore, has an opportunity to really recalibrate the way we operate. And there is clearly an opportunity for CEOs and senior executives in these different sectors to harness these converging technologies. Additionally, the Roundtable comes at a time when Zimbabwe has moved into a new and unsettling socio-economic phase. The new socio-economic order has created new risks and uncertainties, rising political tensions, economic and commercial disruptions, and destabilizing feedback loops between changing international relations and worsening poverty levels. The 7th edition of the Roundtable will thus tackle these issues and many others to do with increased socio-economic risks, global political risks, global political knowledge and skills, engagements with politicians, businesses, and civil society leaders, whilst remaining politically neutral and building sustaining trust such that as a country we get ready to embrace the opportunities presented by the new order of global economics shaped by the 4th Industrial Revolution. Furthermore, Africa has embarked on an ambitious program to integrate continental markets for goods and services through the CFTA, with the free movement of business persons and investments across the continent. This is expected to boost intra-African trade through harmonization and coordination of trade liberalization and facilitation instruments across the REX and across Africa in general. The delegates will hear from experts and policymakers the roadmap and prospects of the African continental free trade area. Colleagues, the world is indeed operating in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, constantly changing environment. The VUCA world has become clear, and our comfortable classic models may not work in this constant changing environment. The Roundtable aims to create smart African CEOs by amplifying issues to do with self-awareness, learning agility, confidence to lead through uncertainty, management competencies, self-management ethics, communication and negotiation, problem solving, decision-making, and team building. The CEO Africa Roundtable has invited renowned speakers and industry practitioners from across the world, who include Njeri Rionge, a female multi-million-dollar entrepreneur from the Republic of Kenya. She's dubbed the Lioness of Africa, who founded Wananchi Online, Wananchi Group Holdings, Ignite Consulting, Insight Limited, Business Lounge, amongst others. We're also expecting Sibongile Sambo, the CEO of SRS Aviation, a multi-millionaire and first black female to own an aviation services company in Africa. And according to Forbes, she's one of our most influential African female business leaders. We're also expecting Velile Ndaba. Is an author, speaker, consultant, and life coach, whose purpose is to inspire and empower people to discover their purpose in life. He's credited with 4 books: Your Dream is Calling You, You Are Born to Win, Switch On Your Personal Power, and Set Your Soul on Fire. Again, we're expecting Professor Gedda. He's a professor of economics from Addis Ababa University. Mr. Brian Kagoro, a renowned lawyer and a civil society leader of Zimbabwean origin, but now currently based in Kenya. He's the executive director of Ohai Group, a governance and consulting firm. We have Mr. Mekwadi Khaled, head of UNIDO Southern Africa. We've remained cognitive of the political nuances in Zimbabwe. Accordingly, we're expecting the major political players to be with us, who include Dr. Nkosana Moyo, J.M. Busha, ZANU-PF, and the MDC Alliance president, in addition to civil society and private sector leaders, to discuss deeply the social, political, and economic tribulations of Zimbabwe in a pluralistic manner in pursuit of holistic national solutions. In keeping up with the aims of the Roundtable, the 7th edition will enable participants to attend a number of conferences featuring top-level debates on how to foster conditions favorable to strategic development of the continent's leading businesses. The leading international innovative meeting format has proved especially popular with participants, offers CEOs and investors an opportunity to identify new partners and share their experiences and good practice in their sectors of activity. Therefore, we invite you all, amongst all our CEOs and senior executives, to certainly be part of this unique African business platform, our 7th edition of the Roundtable. I thank you so very much.
Thank you.
We are also proponents of convergence, proponents of oneness. Let's differ in terms of what we believe, but I think let's try and be strategic to see that our countries, our continent has to compete. And competitiveness is the global theme today. So as the Roundtable, we believe that there is nothing that should stop political protagonists in the ZANU-PF side or the MDC side or any other party to be able to sit on a round table and to discuss and agree to disagree wherever they disagree and disagree agreeably. So we believe and we are optimistic that our invitations are going to be heeded and we will have a very constructive discussion. Let me just take you across the border, maybe a border or two, in Malawi. You can see the Malawians are grappling with political problems. We need to have a continent that is safe, a continent that is less or little of political uncertainty, to make sure that our products and services compete equally with any from any other continent. I hope I assisted Gibson.
Yeah, certainly, yes. Yeah, certainly, I think that's the correct narration of our view. As Africa Roundtable, largely the 7th edition of the Roundtable is underpinned by pursuing solutions to our problems, which I think you all guys know. So we've gone past the stage of trying to describe how shallow or deeper our problems are, but to find solutions. of which in the solutions equations, I think largely Zimbabweans agree that they've got their roots from our politics, which kind of is toxic, which is kind of polarized the nation. And until or unless we come together as Zimbabweans and start to believe again, then we can start thinking of solutions to this country. I think there's a general agreement across the board, no matter who you are. But probably what is lacking is a trigger mechanism for us to come on a table, on a round table as we do it here, and to be able to confront these challenges head on. So the round table, we thought it would be a good platform from a private sector perspective to bring all players that we think are key to our challenges, also that we think are key to resolving those challenges, to try and really have a frank, no holds barred talk, and try to find solutions that can make us a better nation and a better people. And let me assure you that we have representation from all these players at very significant and high level. The CFTA is entering into force in July or June, if I'm not mistaken. And this will be arguably the biggest free trade area in the entire world, bringing together more than 54 African countries, 55 if you're asking, 55 African countries, but there are 54 if you're asking Morocco, because they don't recognize Sahara Republic as an independent country. What it does is we are trying to boost intra-Africa trade by removing the barriers to trade, primarily the tariffs, but also to do the NTBs, and also trying to make movement of business people easy, trying to make movement of investments across borders easy and simple by harmonizing and coordinating the national policies that govern those facets thereof. So we think the FTA is a game changer in terms of boosting business intra-Africa. If you look at trade statistics, Africa trades more with the rest of the world other than within Africa itself. And that is because for a reason. One, there is no a deliberate framework to accord or to sustain or to facilitate that, which the CFTA seeks to achieve. So from a business perspective, I think it is prudent and wise enough to convene in Vic Falls and hear what are the parameters, what are the timelines, what are the rules that are going to be ushered in by this new block that is coming into play. And then we try to position ourselves so that at least we are an effective player when that CFTA unfolds. So largely that's about the continental free trade area, of which Zimbabwe have ratified and signed the agreement, and we hope it will make a difference to all of us.
Do you think our countries
I would say yes. You know what happens in trade? There's always what we call the laws of comparative advantage and the laws of competitive advantage. Just like any human being, everyone is as good as something, no matter how mediocre you may be. So from the look of things, we may seem that as Zimbabwe, we are playing in the murky waters of uncompetitiveness, given the humongous challenges that we have as a country. But certainly, yes, we are producing in certain areas. And in this order of the day, it's not what Zimbabwe can only produce, but what Zimbabwe can partner fellow players within the continent to produce. So the order of the day is now more of partnership as opposed to competition. So what the CFTA is effectively doing is to bring Africa together as one collective force, so that at least we can even now begin to develop and sustain value chains across borders. So you focus on producing what you are good at producing, but with a clear framework that allows you to ship that good to the next country or to the next producer who value it and be able to keep value within the borders of the African continent, in the process creating jobs, making lives of our people better, and largely creating a better life for our people. So I think the question of competitiveness, and competitiveness is a dynamic variable. You can be uncompetitive today, but it doesn't necessarily mean you will be uncompetitive tomorrow, because you can deliberately build your own competitiveness of your country. And I choose to be an optimist. I choose to believe that by doing the right things, which we are going to ignite at the round table, we certainly should be able to produce competitively and effectively within the very shortest possible time.
Yeah, just to also add on that technical aspect, I think from the time this idea of continental convergence was muted in 2012, Zimbabwe has played a critical role in terms of really defining the architecture of the creation of the CFTA. The concerns remain there for weaker countries, maybe to become laggards. There are potential concerns that once you are small, you may not be able to reap the benefits immediately. I think there are mechanisms set aside to deal with such concerns. What do I advise our member states to do? I think when you go into the CFTA, you can't go there as a master of everything. I think we need to now start looking at our comparative advantages, because the CFTA is going to come with creation of or boosting of your regional value chains, creation of continental value chains. So we are going to be better together. Imagine a car manufacturing industry in South Africa with, say, electronics done in Zimbabwe and leather done in Botswana. We come up with a wholly African product that can actually withstand the market pressures from other continents. Zimbabwe per se, I think we need to understand that further derogations will not do us a favor. Why? Because the train has moved. Okay? There is a certain number of, the minimum number of countries that have to be at the table to be able to unlock this particular initiative. So it is my advice that Zimbabwe has to really start thinking seriously about getting to a stage where they become part of this process at the start of it at all. And in Africa generally, as a parting point on this one, we need to embrace what other continents call rules-based business engagements. We are too obsessed with our own sovereignty issues to the detriment of national economic advantage. So Africa has to rethink about that, both at the REC level and obviously the tripartite, which was actually a template that was used to create the CFTA, and indeed at the continental level itself.
How about the lack of a standard legislation in this country? Was what we had discussed SARS policy, which is voluntary. Is this not going to be the biggest threat to our breakthrough as a country?
Yes, no. I am a proponent of self-regulation. And governments by nature are meant to create an environment for which productive players have to function. And that's basically their role. We must ensure that we have engendered this particular, culture in terms of productivity and decision-making in private sector. That says our competitive edge must be a good product, which is a high quality product, readily available, accessible, a good price, and then we start competing on those fundamentals. Yes, we know that the conversation on standards is topical, especially when you look at rules of origin, right? But certainly each country has to make sure that they have created a product that competes with each other across the board. Standards across the continent, yes, we want them to be, because you want to compare oranges and oranges. But the role of the state in that regard, as far as I'm concerned, from my persuasion, should be very minimum. Well, where the standards body is weak and the state has got an entrenched interest to see its productive sectors compete, there is no reason why they shouldn't assist here and there, but certainly move away from making it a public institution. Why? Because you know the history of our public institutions in this country, most of which are key economic enablers. So we wouldn't want to see our standards body to actually go in the same direction at the end of the day, because those products, the few that Zimbabwe still boasts of, may not be able to have the credibility in terms of competitiveness at the end of the day if they are actually lumped under an umbrella public entity, until such time that we have managed to recalibrate our public utilities.
2019, you met again in Victoria Falls. A lot was discussed, challenges and solutions, experiences were shared. What is one success story that you're taking to 2020 CEO Africa Roundtable in Victoria Falls?
If you say one, it's very minimalist.
Yeah, because I want to.
Well, I'll talk about one and then I'll just open to the chief executive to talk about the others. After 2019, we deliberately decided that Africa needed investment, domestic investment and external investment. We also deliberately decided that Africa needed markets. Both. I'm happy to tell you that we have engaged in how many? 6?
Yeah.